As defined by Wikipedia, a gimmick is a novel device or idea designed primarily to attract or increase attention or appeal, often with little intrinsic value. When applied to a retail market, it is a unique and quirky feature designed to make a project or service stand out from its competitors. Hello everybody, this is Ren from the Black Belt Factory, and today on the solocast we are going to be discussing gimmicks in martial arts. What is getting people through the door, and how do studios use this to be dishonest to their clients? Now, throughout my years, I have figured out about 4 different things that make up a gimmick in a martial arts place, and those are the studio's presentation, the owner's presentation, an employee presentation, and a style and art form. Let's start with the studio presentation. If you're walking into the studio and they're going, okay guys, hold up. All of our classes are taking place, outside, I would be a little bit, skeptical at that point. A studio doesn't need to have a gimmick for you to learn the art. Being outside isn't adding anything to the art form that you're learning. Now, they're going to throw some bullshit at you. It's like, this is how the ancient Japanese used to train. And it's like, well, I'm sorry. We're not in ancient Japan anymore. It's fucking minus 32 outside. And in Canada, I'm cold as fuck. Why are we doing this? Now, outside also takes away from a lot of the stuff that you're going to be teaching. If you're training on dirt, and you have kids, and these kids are just casuals, okay? If you want to go hardcore and train on concrete, be my guest, okay? But if you're bringing kids outside, you're going to be dealing with them crying a lot. You're going to deal with a lot more injuries than if you were in a much safer environment. Now, I'm not sure even the law is based around that. I think if you're going to be running a business like that, you need to meet a certain safety code. And it's whether these studios are flying under the radar or they found some sort of loophole. I have to look more into this. But that's my idea right now. Now, other things with studio presentation, if you're walking in and you're being hit, hey, look at all of our trophies on the wall, here's all the grandmasters. It's like, okay, there's a point of being respectful, and then there's just gloating. If you walk into a studio and they're like, okay, our gimmick is our master won all of these trophies, it's like, did your master really win all those trophies? A lot of studios take medals away from the children and they put it on the wall. They do that and they're like, that's our competitive team. They do super well. Like, just look at all those medals. Now, those kids, the only way that they're ever going to see their accomplishments is if they go to the dojo. They can't go home and reflect and be like, I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of what I did that one day in that tournament. I'm proud that I won. Instead, they have to go to the dojo to have that feeling installed back into them. And that's what studios do. They take the confidence of the kid and they only put it in the studio. And that's an issue. Kids should have that feeling of confidence wherever they go. At home, at school, wherever. They should be able to reflect on the past and be like, I am proud of that. Instead of only being able to do that at a studio. And they do that with kids coming in as well. Kids come in and they're like, hey, you want to be successful? Look at all this stuff here. If you don't come here, you're not going to be successful because we're the best. Look at all of our medals. Look at all of our trophies. Hey, have you seen superior North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on the wall? Hey, he's a hero to us. Come on, guys. There's a point of being respectful. There's a point of showing what you can do. And then there's just gloating. There's showboating. And a lot of studios, they don't get called out on that. Coming up to the next category, we are talking about owner presentation. If you ever walk into a studio and the owner is, middle-aged, kind of chubby, it's kind of like, okay, calm down. Like, what are your accomplishments? Like, what have you even been able to done? And, I focused on accomplishments in the last category. And honestly, I don't think accomplishments matter as much as technique and style. Now, here's why. When you're teaching is different than competing, okay? Someone can be an amazing teacher, but they can suck actual dick at competing. Does that make them a bad martial artist? No, it means there are people better than them, but they're still able to convey the art in a certain way. Now, if they are super overweight or super fucking skinny, you can snap that boy with a fucking axe kick. It's okay. You should be able to present your stuff as well. There's a point of being I'm not good at competing versus you suck actual ass at martial arts. Now, back to the owner presentation. If you walk into the studio and they're going, okay, our owner is the 4-time world champion of point sparring. Now, firstly, let's talk about point sparring. Point sparring sucks ass. It's a fucking game, and that's what it just as. You're winning games. You're not winning an actual martial arts tournament. You're winning at a game. I can tap you faster. No, I can. And that's the issue. A lot of these people, they get awards in point sparring. They get in kata. Kata I'm a little bit more loose on and stuff. Kata and pumse. Because it's like, there's an actual art form to that. But it's like, if you're winning point sparring and you're flaunting that around, I'm sorry, but like, you get a better hobby. And that's where a lot of their medals are coming from. They're getting them in board breaking competitions, and it looks good when someone comes in. They're like, wow, Sensei won all those medals. They must be really good. And it's like, hold up, he won like 8 gold medals in board breaking because they're crappy wooden boards and they're fucking easy to break. Wooden boards are not they're not hard to break, guys. Like, you hit it with the grain and you're done. There, it's broken. It's not a difficult challenge. There are those plastic ones that are a little harder, but it's like, come on, like, they're not gonna do that at a tournament. We have to impress. We have to make Kim Jong-un, Grandmaster Kim, look really good in the tournament. Now, other things that instructors will do, they'll begin flaunting like, I was the first to do this. I was the first to bring little dragons or mighty dragons or tiny tigers, tiny thoughts into this certain area. I was the first to do this. I was the first to do that. It's like, okay, does it look like I care? You're not creating an actual martial art. You're creating a kids program. I was the first to bring 3-year-old classes. It's like 3-year-olds can't even stand. Calm down. And like, they do that. Like, they flaunt their successes when they're not real successes. Like, someone else has already done it in the past. Like, you think like fucking preschoolers in like Japan aren't training martial arts right now? Like, come on, like, you're doing it in the West. Like, that's the difference. You're a first Westerner to do it. It's like places out east, places in Asia, Japan, Korea. I don't know, maybe North or South. I don't care about North Korea that much. No, not much about South Korea either. Places like China. It's like, they bring that. They do that with kids when they come right out of the womb. Alright, it's like, okay, you want to be a martial artist? Boom, we're doing these lessons. You can get degrees in martial arts in these places in the world because they start teaching it so young and it gets into their brains. Now, there's a problem with that because like when you bring it over to the West, it's like we don't have that warrior spirit here as much. You can find actual talented warriors here, talented martial artists, but we don't have that mentality here. Places like that, they honor respect, they honor loyalty. And those are things that are integral to martial arts there. And when you come to the West, we don't have the same values. We would like to think we do, but our values are completely different in like, that's not wrong. Like, but we don't have that same warrior spirit. So when you're bringing that over and you're being like, we're teaching your 3-year-old, it's like, that's daycare. You're not actually teaching anything, and that's a gimmick. You're not teaching martial arts. You're doing a daycare service for a parent so she can go along and drink wine for a couple hours. Now, owners will also push things like, I was the first person in this select group to do this. Now, what I mean by that, they were, before we were talking about like programs they were pushing. Now, this is what the owner is. It's like, I was the first black man in fucking Toronto to ever teach Muay Thai. I was the first girl to teach karate in Edmonton. It's like, let your style, let your skill talk for itself. I don't care if you're black, brown, orange, blue, or purple. I don't care if your gender begins with a Z, S, or H. It's like, you should speak for yourself with your skill, not because you were the first of a certain group. You're making yourself out to be an exception to a rule. It's like, I'm the first black guy to do this. It's like, cool. If you want to get other black people into martial arts, or you want to get other women into martial arts, that's cool. But don't make yourself be like, I'm the exception to a rule. Make yourself become the rule. If that makes any sense. I'm trying to say, like, if you're a woman and you're like, I was the first to do this, well, neat. Try and get other women in. Try and bring them in. Don't be like, I was the first woman. I'm the exception to a rule that women don't do martial arts. It's like, no. Make yourself the rule. Bring more women in. I'm all for that. That sounds wonderful. That's a more diverse group of fighters I would love to see. What I'd like to talk about next is employee presentation. When it comes to employees, a lot of people will hire younger A lot of McDojos will do that, and they'll do the same thing as employees, the owners. They'll be like, this is the first woman to teach, this is the first colored person to teach, and it's the same thing. Bring skill in and talent first. Race is like dead last. Sex is dead last. It should not matter. And martial arts, you should have skill and talent, not gender and race. Things like that should not matter at all. And that's equality, honestly. You should be pushing for people of all sexes and races to come in, instead of just exceptions. Other things that owners will do when they're pushing the employees, they'll be like, okay, the employees have to wear this certain garb, and it's like, okay, like, calm down. Make them wear like a traditional uniform, or some places just take away the uniform entirely. Don't make them wear like all the instructors have to wear the instructor gi, and that one has purple daisies on it. It's like, no. It's like in some places in like Japan, I'm pretty sure they do have proper instructor's gi, but this is the West, and we're not doing that. Instead, we're putting them in pansy ass clothing to make them stand out, so kids can have something to look up to. But it's a false idol because they don't have talent. The last thing I want to bring up is style and art. Now, what I mean by style and art is when you're walking into the dojo and they're like, we are the first Krav Maga school. It's a style that they're pushing. They may be like, we're a karate, taekwondo, Muay Thai mixed program. It's like, okay, hold up. Try and teach one thing to me first. Don't try and throw me all these different elements. It's like when you start mixing arts like that, I'm kind of iffy. Another thing I want to point out in style and art is those really weirder martial arts. Damn, what were some off the top of my head? I can't remember some. It was like Yu Sung or something, and it was some weird Asian martial art where it was a combination of taekwondo, karate, Muay Thai, and I think there was boxing in there as well, and I just get a little confused on that one. Things like that. One that I always look out for is Kung Fu. I have a little hatred for Kung Fu. I don't see it as much of a practical style nowadays, and I'll bring that up in another solo episode. I've got some very strong opinions on that Jay might not agree with, and maybe we'll talk about that together. But style and art, if you're looking for something mainstream, might be a little bit better for you. If you want to learn martial arts, I would suggest things like Muay Thai, boxing. Be a little bit more iffy on taekwondo and karate, because those get adapted a lot by weeaboos and fat chubby guys looking for a quick buck. Because you can read, a lot of those guys just read a book and they just go, I got my black belt in 16th century Japan from Master Kim Jong-un. And it's like, okay, calm down. Like, you're 25 years old and you have like an 18th degree black belt. Oh, calm down there, mister. But with style and art, what you really need to focus on is when these people walk out and they're flaunting these weirder styles, it's like, that's a gimmick. Your gimmick is that you're mixing styles or you're presenting a weird one. And I'm not saying all these studios are bad. A couple of them presenting weird styles like that Yu Sung, whatever I mentioned before, might be actually good. And it's always good to explore and check out these studios. If they give free trials, ayo, hop on that shit. But a lot of these things, a lot of these places are just pushing out garbage. And you have to be very wary of that. The gimmick is that they're presenting something that someone else is not already doing. And you can see a theme here. And that comes back to the original definition, standing out. That is what a gimmick is. And a lot of these places are just trying to stand out from each other by doing something different rather than focusing on talent. Focusing on refining skill in people, developing skill in people. Instead, they're just looking for the quick buck from the gimmick. I hope you all had a wonderful listen. We will be back with the regular episodes coming soon. These mini episodes are just little in-between segments that you guys can enjoy. But I hope to see you all on the next episode of The Black Belt Factory.